Hi there, I'm Erin, and among other things, I'm a quantum healing guide and light language channel. And today we are talking about light language, what it is, how it develops or is remembered by the human. And in the second part of this video, I want to give you some tips in opening this up in yourself. If you're watching this video, you might wonder, is it for me? Is it something that I have or can find in myself? And I would say if you were guided to this video, I'm going to start with the truth belief that I have deep down in my soul that every single human on this planet has light language. It's just a matter of whether or not your soul journey in this lifetime is to remember this. So I believe that the people who are tuned into light language are the ones who will develop it at some point in their human timeline. We are all on this planet together, and there are some of us who have awakened our multidimensional consciousness. So what is light language anyway? Light language is the language of light that is universal source language. It is encoded light that can be transmitted through sound vibration, through movement, through drawings, through the body, through dance, through singing and toning. And there may be other ways that I'm just not, aware of right now. But in my own development of light language and in the people that I work with who have developed light language, some of them right in front of me in the middle of an energy healing session, there are similarities and patterns that I have noticed. And in those tips in the latter part of this video, I'm going to be discussing what I think may be blocking many people. And when that becomes unblocked, it's because certain things have happened. So light language is pure, untouched by the human mind and all of its filters. And I would say it is a scooting over from the left brain logic mind. The language centers in the brain become bypassed, and it's a moving over to the right brain, the more creative flow, the soul channel opening, and this more expanded version of the self, the higher self, the soul, whatever you want to call it, is now transmitting encoded light and bringing you downloads or packets of information. It could be cosmic information from aspects other than your human self, your soul aspects in other galactic regions, even angelic realms. And this light is coming in and it's altering your DNA. Our DNA is basically like the mainframe of our expression here on Earth. And since you are multidimensional, so is your DNA, it is being upgraded and you are being expanded into, I would say, higher realms of light while staying connected to Gaia, our planet. So next I'd like to talk about how I developed it. My own journey with light language is maybe a little different than some others because I didn't develop light language until about 6 years ago. I had a spiritual awakening and didn't develop light language right away, not at all. I had to go through a really harrowing healing process, and I had to get over so much self-judgment. I would describe myself as a very left-brained thinker type, maybe even an overthinker. And I think it's really a challenge for people who have developed a lot of filters when they're speaking, when you're becoming a speaker who has specific goals in your mind for what you want to communicate. The better you are at speaking and communication, that might actually be a blocker to light language because all of those programs that you have in place to filter, to, create the perfect message, all of that is a block to the flow of light language because it's wanting to flow from a place that is not up here, but down here in the heart. So I had to move a lot of my consciousness that was stuck up here in the mental realms down into my body, down into the heart. That meant kind of a yoga journey for me. That's what I used. It was yoga, it was long walks, it was meditations, it was a lot of healing. I became a quantum healing hypnotist pretty early in my awakening. And it was through these quantum journeys that I would go really deep into myself, and I healed through lifetimes of trauma. So my journey in healing led me to this part of myself that is more multidimensional and is able to be expressed and felt by others, and continues to heal me as I move through the layers of my own shadow, my own self. And I would say that when I developed light language, it was first just up in my head. I couldn't actually express it through my throat chakra. I was afraid. I had a lot of fear blocks that it was not going to sound right. I had a lot of fear blocks that people were going to think I was weird, that I am weird. I believe there were lifetimes, and just from the things that I've gone through in past life regressions, where I was punished for using light language. I was burned at the stake as a witch. I mean, I think I have a lot of past trauma about this, and I have been healing through that over time. So, what was the turning point for me to be able to express it, to get this out of my head? Because I was hearing it. I would have dreams where I could hear light language. I would hear it up in my head when I was doing healing, deep quantum healing work with others, focused on their energy field. I would feel this strange flow coming through me, and then a language that I couldn't understand. I was afraid to express it. I was worried that I would sound weird and that the person would be afraid of me. And so over time, it just built up to the point where I started asking people that I was doing healing sessions with, is it okay if I speak this, I think it's a spiritual language, to you? And those who were open to it would let me flow it in. The very first person to do this was my friend Nikki. She and I did energy work over the phone together, and we would tune into one another's energy fields and do this kind of psychic-based energy work. And one day we got into her root chakra, and I told her, Nikki, I'm just hearing this chanting weird language in my head. It sounds like a couple of words, and it's happening over and over and over again. And she encouraged me to bring it through. Now, I felt really safe with her. And I think that one of the things that we all need to bring our remembrance of light language in is just a place where we can feel so safe. This would be like the sanctuary feeling, the feeling that this is a sacred space and no one is going to judge me. So I didn't feel judged by her, and I spoke out what was in my head. Now, at this point, it wasn't a flow. I could hear it, and then I could repeat it. It wasn't flowing yet, but her reaction to my light language was so encouraging, because she started to tell me about the vibration she was feeling in her body and how her leg was beginning to sort of vibrate, and she could feel an energy flow there every time I spoke this certain phrase in this other language. So I would say that was a very profound moment for me, where I was able to then really tap in and allow myself to bring it forward as a positive thing, not something that was weird or awful or, getting in the way of the healing, but rather this was the healing. Another experience that I had that was very opening was working with another healer. Now, he was focused on me, and I was the recipient of the healing. And I got up the courage to tell him that I have this weird language, and at the time I just called it this weird language. And he said, all right, let me have it. Let me hear it. And so I opened up and I just let it flow. And it took him a couple seconds to respond, but he looked right dead in my eye and he said, that is the real you. And I got super emotional because that is what I felt like. I felt like this is the truest expression of myself. I can't explain what it's saying. I can't think about it in my head. It just comes through. And at this point, it had been flowing through. I had kind of unlocked that ability to just set my brain to the side, feel the flow, and let it come through. And that was so encouraging to me because I wanted it to be me. I wanted this flow of vibration and sound that felt so good to me. It feels like a comfort. It feels soothing. It feels like home. I wanted that to be me because the unhealed part of me in my pain body and ego always felt very unworthy. And it's been a healing experience for me to speak light language to myself with myself. It is an opening. And that origination of the soul language starting to come through opened up other channels, other dialects, other frequencies. Light language carries emotional frequencies in it. It will connect to your emotions and release emotions that are stuck, that are acting as blocks in your energy field, in your chakras. And so the more I would speak it and use it in my healing sessions with myself or just around the house, around the yard, the more and more in tune with myself I began to feel. Now, I have observations about other people who have developed light language. I have been present and witness to a number of people who have developed it right in front of me. I wouldn't say developed it, it's already there. It's a soul remembrance, but they felt safe enough and connected enough to their own soul portal that they began to play with it, and I encouraged them to. I can feel when someone else has light language bubbling up. It's just, I don't know, maybe I'm an activator or a mentor for it, and I'm kind of connecting more and more to that truth in myself, but I can sort of feel and hear their light language, if that makes sense. And if I can, and this person is sort of ready to bring it forth, I'll mention it and I'll ask them to just tone with me and create any word or any syllable that comes to their mind without worrying about if it makes sense or not. And that has really helped a few people tap into their own light language and really bring it forth and are now fluent light language speakers. When I say fluent, I just mean that it can flow from a place that is authentic and not judged by the human mind. And it is a flow of energy rather than just little bits and pieces that are blocked. So, what is happening when we're speaking light language? It's directly interacting with our DNA. And you've probably heard that light language is a DNA activator. And I do believe that's absolutely true. What comes in are codes. And these codes can be, like I said in the beginning, written, drawn. The codes come through my hands now. So your hands are the control panel of your energy body, of your light body. And when you're connected to your heart and your light language is flowing, it may be flowing through your hands. Now, mine flowed through my throat before it flowed through my hands, but I know for a lot of people it's the exact opposite. I think it just depends on who you are. Your light language is a signature for your soul. And now I'm kind of getting into the second part of the video. So I'm going to move into the second part of the video where I'm going to describe to you some signs that you may have bubbling up inside of you and some tips to allow it through. Okay. Okay, in this section of the video, we'll talk about big tips. And these are really based on observations and my own experience for remembering your light language. Number 1 is to change your belief system to I already have it. And I think many of us would be surprised about how many self-limiting beliefs that we have around this, that it belongs to someone else. Oh, they have a special gift and I don't. Everyone has it. So you really need to work with your own belief systems here. And when you can believe, or maybe it's a removal of the beliefs around I don't have it, I can't do it, that would really be the first step in acknowledging your multidimensional beingness, your consciousness. All people here have a soul, and all souls have a signature light language. And this is going to bring me to number 2. Number 2 is releasing your left brain. The left brain is going to tell you it has to make sense. Allow it to not make sense. Allow it to be gibberish, to be something that you don't feel embarrassed about letting through, and release that it has to maybe come in with a specific intention, or that you have to manage it or direct it somehow. Now we can begin to channel light language into specific chakras or hold a specific intention for it, but it's like a wild horse. It will move the way it wants to move. Our self-limiting beliefs and our little tiny human brain cannot comprehend the amount of information and light that's contained in each utterance, each symbol that we make with our hands, each drawn light code. And it's not meant for our human consciousness. It's meant for our DNA, our energy field, our emotions, and none of those are regulated by our brains. Okay, number 3 is, this is a hard one. Refrain from comparing your light language to someone else's. I did this for a long time. In fact, I spent almost a year hiding my light language because it didn't sound like the light language that came from other people. Mine sounded very indigenous and almost like, I would say, like a lost ancient earth language. And in truth, it did come from aspects of me that existed in prehistory, before Earth history was really written. And many of these aspects of self were shamans, medicine people, people who were really connected to both Gaia and the cosmos. And those are some of my spirit guides that come through in my light language. And my soul signature language does sound very indigenous. Now it will branch out into other dialects, but that original dialect that came through, a lot of people thought I was speaking Japanese, or, that it was Native American, and it may be that those are prototype languages or a merge of all of the languages before they split off into, unique languages in different nations or regions of the world. So try to release the idea that it needs to sound a certain way. Stop guiding it with your head. And we also may have a tendency to try to copy someone else's, thinking that's what sounds nice or pretty. I have a few friends whose light language sounds very different than anything I've ever heard before, and they had a lot of self-judgment about it, like I did. And it acted as a blocker for a long time. Once it did flow through and their signature light language was exposed and felt by others, it was an absolute amazing symphony of different sounds and movements. And you just need to trust that yours is unique to you. It's special, it is a gift, and that this is your soul expression coming through now. All right, so number 4, and I don't know why I left this as number 4. I think this is the most important one, is to free yourself to play. a lot of us have lost the ability to play and to be free in our vocalized expressions. And we think too much. And the release of this part of ourselves that it has to be right or it's wrong, or I've made a mistake, or I'm judging myself, that's a healing journey in itself. But if you can give yourself the space to play, that is so important. Let it be silly. Let it be gibberish. I used to be an improv teacher, and one of the games that was the most elevating to our experience as improv actors was a game that we called the gibberish game. And what that did was it really released our minds from the self-judgment of I'm saying the wrong thing, I'm messing up the scene by saying this certain thing. Doodling, hand dancing to music, like allow a flow of music to come in. Honestly, it's much easier for me to flow light language through when I start with my hands, when I start with tuning into some really good music, something that just gets my body going, because it's flowing through your body. It's flowing through your chakras. Your heart chakra will open when you allow this flow through. I've also experienced in the shower, when I'm just kind of zoning out and the water's nice and warm, I will experience a lot of downloads there. Light language downloads, but also just downloads of guidance from my heart. And that's a great place to explore. You're in the shower, there's this resonance. The vibration of the water itself is very conducive to carrying frequencies. And I believe that when we're in water, because our bodies are so much water, I think we're 70-something% water, that the frequencies and the vibrations can flow from the water to our bodies back and forth. It's a great way for our guides to get into us and for our soul to kind of come forth in that zone of no thinking. It's a sensual experience. So in number 4, there is this exploration that's happening, an allowing of new energies and frequencies to come in without being judged. I'm doing a video now that I was guided to do that is calling and answering through light language for people who just want to play, who want to bring it out in a safe place where they can play. And I believe that this is an important sanctuary, a sacred space where we can just explore, discover. It's a remembrance. It's not something you have to do. It's not something that you have to plan. And the mind wants to be a planner. The mind wants to be in charge. Your ego has nothing to do with light language. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people, is their ego wants to come in and control it and make it a certain way. And that's actually not involved in light language at all. It's when we can get our ego to kind of scoot to the side that it's going to flow through more. So if you are relaxed and if you are giving yourself permission to explore this, it's going to come through. It's just a matter of time, and your own soul has its own timeline for this. Okay, so release the pressure on yourself. It's coming, and you don't know how it's going to come, but the more you give yourself permission to play, the easier it will flow through. Grace and ease is what we're looking for here. And I'm going to flow some light language right now, holding the intention that it will be an activator and a homing signal for you and your soul. Harakiata ungium urtiada de kuhrikata ihaskata tukungium horki ada taka erkiata. Moskodardiana numoko wertiarki komakasaratingianai. Somat kuheragiar urtionani maskadatiarte de makai uya he ia. Uya he ia a ugamba karika etuk ugwaki eketiata. Mohorede dere ergungi makahartu diana nini hardiana. Soko thinin yamakasugudari tatakanitium bakarikiki habaka. Rakatatuko makatake sakatati tatakatum ariaka warkia baka wemi makarikiana. Sugariatan ni mokoria de diaka. Shuzo de niana ni moko beriatata. Nguritati and nano uyabaha yeritian di uyake e waha. Ma u ia kari o kima ka u urtian nananene irianda. Morianda tutia pesekete ikik ewa paka ekia papa kuk ungu kortianda. Many blessings to you in your exploration and your discovery, your remembrance of yourself and your own language of light. Let the universe speak and flow through you. You are a conduit, and you always have been. All right, I'll see you in the next video. If you are interested in this, I have many videos to come that are a playground for the discovery and the remembrance of light language in yourself. So subscribe to my channel if you're interested in that, and I will see you next time. Take care.